If you cannot learn to forgive yourself in whatever situation, that means taking some accountability for whatever your action is. No problem. So like I said, if you can't learn to trust yourself, which requires taking some accountability for your actions, learning to forgive yourself. If you don't learn to forgive yourself, then you'll never trust yourself. So you have to move past these things in order to make better choices. And then once you learn to forgive yourself and then you learn to trust yourself, then the next way in order to break that cycle, the last part of the trust cycle, means that you have to change your way of thinking. So you have to change your way of seeing relationships. You have to change the way that you see yourself and how you see others as well. When you have men or women saying, there's no good men, there's no good women, like I actually just said the other day, oftentimes you'll hear people say, they don't make men and women like they used to. I'm like, okay, well, back then there were old-fashioned values. Are you upholding any of those old-fashioned values, that kept those things going? If you're jumping into these relationships differently than your grandmother, your great-grandmother, whoever else did, why do you think that you're going to get the same type of man that your grandfather is? If you're not conducting yourself. And actually, when you think about it, Islam, it's a shame that in the African-American community, we often forget a lot of the traditional ways that our families were brought up on. And we forget all that when we come into Islam. And we think that this is something totally different, and it's not. So now you come into Islam and you have a wali, and the brother has to talk to your wali. Well, back then you just had to come to your father's house. It's no different. A man just couldn't just show up and just date you all freely, willy-nilly. He might have wrote you some love letters. He might have, courted you from a distance, but it wasn't just, all willy-nilly like it is today. Man wanted to take you out. He had to show up to your father's house. He had to sit down in the living room and have a conversation with them. So it's really no different, but for some reason, we've lost track of that, and so we're thinking that this is totally brand new than what our families grew up on. And if you actually get down to the root of it, it's as traditional and back in sync with our cultural values as any other tradition.